Yeah.
Recording in progress.
So a couple of weeks ago we had we left Song of Solomon, that that evil piece of erotic literature there, and we entered back in the narrative briefly before we jumped into Ecclesiastes, and we did the first verse, I think, or the first chapter, first couple chapters of Ecclesiastes. So we're actually going to get through most of the rest of Ecclesiastes today, and we'll finish it up next week. But Ecclesiastes is interesting because it's part of the wisdom literature, but it sounds a lot like Proverbs, but it seems a whole lot more human in the sense of the way it um, uh, articulates some of its messages. Definitely things that we can associate with. One of the first phrases in there is vanity, vanity, all is vanity. And of course, we can all relate to that, feeling like that at times. But we keep in mind that most of the wisdom literature attributed to Solomon, other than Psalms, was really for his children, particularly a son. And we'll get into his son next week. But um, so when we read this, try to keep that in mind that really most of this is just he's finally instructed his son, and he's got to the point that maybe, I mean, we can make this jump, I think, based on what we're going to hear about his son Rehoboam, coming up, that he had finally reached, he'd reached the limit. I think some of us have reached that limit with our kids at times. That it's just not worth, it just ain't worth it anymore. He just can't, he's not, child ain't listening, and but it's on some deeper levels. It's Ecclesiastes is deep life stuff. So okay, so neat. Go here. We're going to be in Ecclesiastes chapter 2. Screen. Make sure I click together this button so it does correctly. All the video related. And we'll boost it up. From there. Okay. So yeah, Ecclesiastes chapter 2. Before I start, for those of you on the handbell choir, they're asking you all to be there at 10 o'clock. So I'll let you know when we get to 10 o'clock. I said to myself, come now, I will make a test of pleasure. Enjoy yourself. But again, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure, what use is it? I searched with my mind how to cheer my body with wine. My mind still guided me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly until I might see what was good for mortals to do under heaven during the few days of their life. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. I also had great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of kings and of the provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and the lights of the flesh, many concubines. Y'all remember how many he had?
A bunch.
He had 700 wives and 300, concubines, portions. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also, my wisdom remained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. Ooh, that's dangerous. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure from all my toil, and this was the reward from all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil I had spent in doing it. And again, all was vanity and a chasing after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. So I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the king's successor do? Who's the king's successor? That is his son. Only what has already been done. Then I saw that wisdom excels folly, as light excels darkness. The wise have eyes in their head, but fools walk in darkness. Yet I perceive that the same fate befalls all of them. Then I said to myself, what happens to the fool will happen to me also. Why then have I been so very wise? And I said to myself that this also is vanity, for there is no enduring remembrance of the wise or of fools, seeing that in the days to come all will have been long forgotten. How can the wise die just like fools? So I hated life, because what is done under the sun was grievous to me, for all is vanity and a chasing after the wind. It kind of sounds like a song, doesn't it? I hated all my toil in which I had toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to my successor. And who knows whether he will be wise or foolish? Yet he will be master. Now that's your first clue. If Solomon don't know whether his son's going to be wise or foolish, what's probably going to happen?
He's gonna be foolish.
It's probably going to be foolish. Yet he will be master of all for which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is vanity. So I turned and gave my heart up to despair concerning all the toil of my labors under the sun, because sometimes one who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave all to be enjoyed by another who did not toil for it. This also is vanity and a great evil. What do mortals get from all the toil and strain with which they toil under the sun? For all their days are full of pain, and their work is a vexation. Even at night, their minds do not rest. This also is vanity. There is nothing better for mortals to eat and drink and find enjoyment in their toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God, for apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? For to the one who pleases him, God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy, but to the sinner, he gives the work of gathering and heaping, only to give to the one who pleases God. This also is vanity and a chasing after wind. And I pause there for a moment because we're about to get into some real wisdom here.
Real life.
Yes.
Wasted.
Yeah, humans have this insane desire to do our best to make life easier for the next generation. And it seems like every time we do that, the next generation comes and
They don't have to.
they make it more difficult.
Do it.
Or, from our standpoint, they make it more difficult. And it's because I think we're just ingrained with this want to do things for ourselves. If we can do it for ourselves, we can claim it for ourselves. And so, not saying that it's bad, although Solomon did, that it's bad for us to want to do what's, to assist our children, and to work our whole lives and not really reap the whole benefits of what we work for. That's for the benefit of our children. But at the same time, if we give them everything they want, what we call that spoiling, and they don't learn to have that same work ethic or, so anyway. But I pause there before we get into this next section, which everybody's familiar with, to kind of joke for a moment, that it seems that Solomon is actually giving us a country song. Have y'all heard the song by what's the name? They did "Life Is a Highway." Anyway, a particular song that they did was "That's What You Get When You Play a Country Song Backward." You know what you get when you play a country song backward? You get your wife back, your dog back, your best friend truck back. Okay.
You get drunk.
And
And you get drunk.
right. Anyway, I mentioned that in a sermon my last church, and kind of got blank stares.
Went over.
They don't listen to country music.
Well, I will say that there are moments in a minister's life where when they're preaching and they just say, they come to a point where they've gone off script and they just say the most profound thing, even to themselves. But then there's times when it does the opposite of that. I remember saying something in a sermon one time where I challenged people to be stupid for Jesus. I was profound at the moment.
They made a movie about
Being stupid for Jesus. Yeah. Okay, so on to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. No, nobody can sing this, okay? Don't sing it, I'll start crying. A time to be born and a time to die. Time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. Here's to you, Footloose. That was from the movie Footloose, by the way.
it.
A time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to sow, Wilters. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What gain have the workers from their toil? I have seen the business that God has given to everyone to be busy with. He has made everything suitable for its time. Moreover, he has put a sense of past and future into their minds. Yet they cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to be happy and enjoy themselves as long as they live. Moreover, it is God's gift that all should eat and drink and take pleasure in all their toil. I know that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it nor anything taken from it. God has done this so that all should stand in awe of him. That which is already has been. That which is to be already is. And God seeks out what has gone by. Moreover, I saw under the sun that in the place of justice, wickedness was there. And in the place of righteousness, wickedness was there as well. I said to myself, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for he has appointed a time for every matter and for every work. I said to myself, with regard to humans, that God is testing them to show that they are but animals. For the fate of humans and the fate of animals is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath, and humans have no advantage over the animals, for all is vanity. All go to one place, all are from the dust, and all turn to dust again. Who knows whether the human spirit goes upward and the spirit of animals goes downward to the earth? It's one of the only places in the Bible where it talks about the spirit of animals. So I saw that there is nothing better than that. All should enjoy their work, for that is their lot. Who can bring them to see what will be after them? On to chapter 4. Again, I saw all the oppressions that are practiced under the sun. Look, the tears of the oppressed, with no one to comfort them. On the side of their oppressors, there was power, with no one to comfort them. And I commended the dead who have already died, more than the living who are still alive. But better than both is the one who has not yet been and has not yet not seen the evil deeds that are done under the sun. Then I saw that all toil and all skill and work and come from one person's envy of another. This also is vanity and a chasing after wind. Fools hold their hands and consume their own flesh. Better is a handful with quiet than two handfuls with toil and a chasing after wind. Again, I saw vanity under the sun, the case of solitary individuals without sons or brothers. Yet there is no end to all their toil, and their eyes are never satisfied with riches. For whom am I toiling, they ask, and depriving myself of pleasure? This also is vanity and an unhappy business. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up the other. But woe to one who is alone and falls and does not have another to help. Anita, I'm sorry. It's too soon. No, okay. Welcome to the class. See, there's a woe to you. Sorry, I couldn't resist. If two lie together, they keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? And though one might prevail against another, two will withstand one. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. Better is a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who will no longer take advice. One can indeed come out of that is a precursor to what's going to happen next week. Okay, just giving you a heads up. Okay, better is a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who will no longer take advice. One can indeed come out of prison to reign, even though born poor in the kingdom. I saw all living who moving about under the sun follow that youth who replaced the king. There was no end to all those people whom he led. Oops, look there. You can tell I cut and paste. So, yet those who come later will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and a chasing after wind. On to chapter 5. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. To draw near to listen is better than the sacrifice offered by fools, for they do not know how to keep from doing evil. Never be rash with your mouth, nor let your heart be quick to utter a word before God, for God is in heaven and you upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. For dreams come with many cares, and a fool's voice with many words. When you make a vow to God, do not delay fulfilling it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill what you vow. For it is better that you should not vow than that you should vow and not fulfill it. Do not let your mouth lead you into sin, and do not say before the messenger that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry at your words and destroy the work of your hands? With many dreams come vanities, and a multitude of words. Fear God. If you see in a province the oppression of the poor and the violation of justice and right, do not be amazed at the matter, for the high official is watched by a higher, and there are yet higher ones over them. But all things considered, this is an advantage for a land, a king for a plowed field. The lover of money will not be satisfied with money, nor the lover of wealth with gain. This also is vanity. When goods increase, those who eat them increase, and what gain has their owner but to see them with his eyes? Sweet is the sleep of laborers, whether they eat little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not let them sleep.
Will not let the rich sleep.
Let the laborers sleep.
So who is
The abundance of the rich will not let the laborers sleep
Oh.
because they've always got to keep having more. The laborers are the ones that are.
maybe the rich didn't sleep because they were, I don't know, staying rich.
There is a grievous ill that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owners to their hurt. And those riches were lost in a bad venture. Though they are parents of children, they have nothing in their hands. As they came from their mother's womb, so they shall go again, naked as they came. They shall take nothing for their toil that they may carry away with their hands. This also is a grievous ill. Just as they came, so shall they go. And what gain do they have from toiling for the wind? Besides, all their days they eat in darkness, in much anger and sickness and resentment. This is what I have seen to be good. What? Solomon, poor Solomon. This is what he has come to here. It is fitting to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of the life God gives us, for this is our lot. Likewise, all to whom God gives wealth and possessions and whom he enables to enjoy them and to accept their lot and find enjoyment in their toil, this is the gift of God. For they will scarcely brood over the days of their lives because God keeps them occupied with the joy of their hearts. That's a dangerous statement.
Talking about their life.
It's talking about their
Oil.
He's talking about the benefits that they get for being rich and for having everything.
Oh,
He
okay.
says it's okay to eat and drink and find enjoyment. And the rich can find enjoyment in their toil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Until the devil comes and says, soul is right of me.
But when all they know is happiness and enjoyment, it's not bad to feel good, but sometimes it is good to feel bad.
Amen.
To enjoy the times when you really feel good. Doing it all the time, you don't appreciate it.
And for him, was his joy in feeling good at the expense of other people?
At this point in life, possible and very probable. Okay, on to verse or chapter 6 here. There is an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it lies heavy upon humankind. Those to whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that they lack nothing of all that they desire. Yet God does not enable them to enjoy these things, but a stranger enjoys them. This is vanity. It is a grievous ill. A man may father 100 children and live many years, but however many are the days of his years, if he does not enjoy life's good things or has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. For it comes in vanity and goes in darkness, and in darkness its name is covered. Moreover, it has not seen the sun or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he. Even though he should live 1,000 years twice over, yet enjoy no good, do not all go to one place? All human toil is for the mouth, yet the appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage have the wise over fools? And what do the poor have who know how to conduct themselves before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of desire. This also is vanity and a chasing after wind. Whatever has come to be has already been named, and it is known what humans are, and that they are not able to dispute with those who are stronger. The more words, the more vanity. So how is the one the better? For who knows what is good for mortals while they live the few days of their vain life, which they pass like a shadow? For who can tell them what will be after them under the sun? One more chapter. It's almost 10 o'clock for the handbell graders, choir members. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of birth. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For this is the end of everyone, and the living will lay it to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by sadness of countenance the heart is made glad. You'll notice that it shifted into more of a proverb kind of thing now. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than to hear the song of fools. For the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of fools. This also is vanity. Surely oppression makes the wise foolish, and a bribe corrupts the heart. Better is the end of a thing than its beginning. The patient in spirit are better than the proud in spirit. Do not be quick to anger, for anger lodges in the bosom of fools. Do not say, why were the former days better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask this. Wisdom is as good as an inheritance, and advantage to those who see the sun. For the protection of wisdom is like the protection of money, and the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to the one who possesses it. Consider the work of God. Who can make straight what he had made crooked? Hello, Mr. Derek.
Good morning. Excuse me.
We're almost done.
Excuse me. Okay.
Everyone, this is Reverend Dr. David Darren Phelps.
Good morning.
How are you?
Regional Connection Ministry.
Yes.
In the days of prosperity, be joyful, and in the days of adversity, consider. God has made the one as well as the other, so that mortals may not find out anything that comes after them. In my vain life, I have seen everything. There are righteous people who perish in their righteousness, and there are wicked people who prolong their life in their evil doing. Do not be too righteous, and do not act too wise. Why should you destroy yourself? Do not be too wicked, and do not be a fool. Why should you die before your time? It is good that you should take hold of the one without letting go of the other, for the one who fears God shall succeed with both. Wisdom gives strength to the wise, more than 10 rulers who are in a city. That sound familiar? Okay. Surely there is no one on earth so righteous as to do good without ever sinning. Do not give heed to everything that people say, or you may hear your servant cursing you. Your heart knows that many times you have yourself cursed others. All this I have tested by wisdom, and I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. That which is far off and deep and very deep. Who can find it out? I turned my mind to know, he's back in the narrative now, talking about himself. Turned my mind to know and to search out and to seek wisdom and the sum of things and to know that wickedness is folly and that foolishness is madness. I found more bitter than death the woman who is a trap, whose heart is nets, whose hands are fetters. One who pleases God escapes her, but the sinner is taken by her. You know, that's a kind of a pushback to the Proverbs. You know, when you had all those Proverbs about evil women. Go Solomon. See, this is what I found, says the teacher. Adding one thing to another to find the sum, which my mind has sought repeatedly, I have not found. One man among 1,000 I found, but a woman among all these I have not found. Ooh, how many wives do you have?
700.
I don't know, and 300 and 300 porcupines.
Too many. Too many.
Right. And he can't find a woman that, yeah.
I don't think he had much wisdom.
See, this alone I found that God made human beings straightforward, but they have devised many schemes. Okay, that is the end of chapter 6.
Obey the king and enjoy yourself.
So next week, we get some topics in Ecclesiastes like obey the king, enjoy yourself. God's ways are inscrutable. We can agree with that. Take life as it comes. Wisdom is superior to folly. Some miscellaneous observation. In the form of Proverbs. The value of diligence, youth and old age. But then we get back into the king's narrative, and trouble is brewing.
How do you know when you're too evil?
How do you know when you're too evil? Somebody tells you,
Oh,
because you don't recognize it.
you get a massive amount of people who tell you when you're just a little evil.
Yeah.
Are those the people?
The thing is, when you become too evil, how do you know you have? It's because they tell you and you kill
Yeah.
them. You get rid of them. So they can't tell anybody else. And then that puts the fear of other people. Right. But you don't hear too many people often come up and tell them, well, I take that back. I guess I've heard that sometime, but you're too good. You're just too good. I'm on my way. There should be a choir.
Yeah.
It's a busy morning.
Yeah.
Oh, are there any questions about what we read in Ecclesiastes? Go through some of that. So there's only 12 chapters in Ecclesiastes. We went through 6 of them today and 1 last week. So we'll finish up. Then the last 4 or 5 are really short. Well, that's it for today. Let's look forward to the reintroduction of Rehoboam and Jeroboam and all the Oams next week.
Bones.
Yeah.